the literature, take chapter 3, unit 3, chapter 10. Okay, the grapes of wrath. Okay. It's but before we start, we didn't finish page 201, right? There was a question. What message does this piece convey, and are they connections to your current society or not? Who solved it, girls? Grade 11.
Miss, I thought it was for the end of the week. I didn't
No,
thought for it's for today.
So no one solved it? Grade 11. No one?
Miss, the homework, the about reading.
No, I thought it was a homework.
Well, I told you we'll discuss it together.
I also forgot about it.
Okay, so next time we'll discuss it together. Please solve it.
Okay.
I don't want you to upload it on
Okay.
Classera or anything. Just answer it because we will discuss it next time. Next
Miss,
Sunday.
tomorrow?
Sunday. Tomorrow we have grammar and vocabulary. Okay, I'll share with you the PowerPoint. Here is it. The grapes of wrath. Okay. You see it, girls? Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what is the meaning of wrath?
No.
No.
Okay. Wrath means anger.
Yeah.
Rage, anger. Okay. Here. The grapes of wrath. The Grapes of Wrath, it is written by John Steinbeck. Okay. It was translated into many languages, and it was transferred into a movie. And here is the cover of the movie. Okay. The Grapes of Wrath. Ahad, are you here?
Yes, miss.
Read ya, Ahad.
The Grapes of Wrath. The Grapes of Wrath is an American realist novel written by John Steinbeck and
Steinbeck.
published.
It's okay.
Steinbeck and published in 1939. The book won the National Book Award and the Pulitzer Prize
Pulitzer Prize.
for fiction, and it was cited prominently when Steinbeck was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1962. Set during the Great Depression, the novel focuses on the Jodes, a poor family of tenant farmers driven from their Oklahoma home by drought.
By drought, yeah. Before we continue this, Yaad, I'd like to stop at something in the history so we can connect them together. And then we will come back here. Yaad, remind me to continue reading, okay? Remind me. Okay, what happened in United States? Again, after United States became a country, the land of dreams, as we said, and all people have immigrated from Europe to United States, the land of dream, where you can be wealthy, where you can be free, where you can have whatever you want. And then they found out that this was a lie. This was a trick. They have been deceived. There is no chance to be wealthy. So people started to work as workers. Rich people started to take advantage of them, especially in the beginning of, as we can say, the revolution of starting farm factories and this. It's called electric revolution. I don't remember its name. So they started to work in factories, and the rich people gave them very few salary, not enough for a good living. So what happened? As we said previous time, in 1920, there was a growth in the in United States after World War One, and people, we said again, people started to move from the cities to go to, from small villages to go to the main cities of United States, and there was a growth, and came the Great Depression. Suddenly, the Great Depression. What is the Great Depression? These are some pictures of the time of Great Depression. This man wants a job. He wants a job. Why can't you give my dad a job? And as you can see, workers of factories, they eat this food, just corn bread and soup, or corn, it's cooked corn. That's what they were allowed to eat. That's it. What happened in Great Depression? Great Depression was the worst economic downturn in the history of industrialized world. It started 1929, so after the Roaring 20, then the growth in United States. Remember the Great Gatsby? And yes, in that Roaring 20, then the wildlife of after World War One. What happened? The market, stock market, stock market that you see in the news, the stock, this stock for this company has been raised, this has been fallen down, and this. So the stock market crashed. It means. So when the stock market crash in a capitalism country like United States, you're lost. Why? What happens? Because they own their own businesses. So in October 1929, when the stock market crashed. Wall Street is the Wall Street in the United States, where there is the market crash, the stock market and everything. The Wall Street into a panic and whipped out millions of investors. Because the stock market is when I want to establish a company, I bring with me people to, like 5 of us want to open a company. So I have my share, he has his share, the third one has his share, shares together. All of them lost their monies. All of them lost their money. All of them, everyone. So of course there were no jobs for anyone. Okay, there were no jobs for anyone. So this is the Great Depression.
This happened. This
really
happened after the time of the jazz and stuff like that.
Yes, because the time of jazz was the Roaring 20th. After World War I finished, everyone was excited to life. We want to get to live our life. We don't want any wars anymore. We want to have the life that we want. So they lived a very good life from 1920 till 1929, when it happened, the stock market crash and the Great Depression. It stayed from 1929 till 1939, 10 years. What made it worse, this was the Great Depression. Add to Great Depression something called Dust Bowl. Dust Bowl. What is Dust Bowl? Dust Bowl was a period of several dust storms, because again, United States was not just a new country. So look at the houses, you can find a house and around it nothing. So which was so easier for, and the rest with desert, especially north of United States is desert near Mexico and this. So that severe dust storms, they damaged the ecology and the agriculture, of course, of the American and Canadian prairies during the 1930s. So they started the Great Depression 1929, 1930, they started the Dust Bowl. So there is no chance to work, no chance to do anything. Great Depression and Dust Bowl together. So which made it worse and worse in the situation till the max. So, and then severe drought. You know the drought? And a failure to apply dry land farming methods. They can't farm anymore, and their first one at that time in all countries, the first resource for you, or the first source for people to get food, is planting, farming. Remember when we talked about slavery, and we said the slaves should work in the farm to prove food, to guarantee or to provide their masters food? Work in the farms. There are no farmers and no chance to farm. Okay, and like the wind erosion. Aeolian process is the wind erosion. Erosion, you know, erosion when it eats.
Yes.
Okay, so now we have two major problems, Dust Bowl and the Great Depression. So people lived in hunger and poverty. No work and no farming. Okay, so at the time of Great Depression and the Dust Bowl, okay, here we come here again. Read it, Yahid.
Teacher, where did we stop?
Here, said during the Great Depression.
Okay. Set during the Great Depression, the novel focuses on the Jodes, a poor family of tenant farmers, driven from the Oklahoma home by drought, economic hardship, agriculture industry changes, and the bank foreclosures, forcing tenant farmers out of work.
One thing, girls, remember when we discussed the question, opportunists, those who take opportunists, those who take advantage of the hard conditions of others. And there was a question, I asked you a question, which group takes advantage of the others? And we said what? Bankers, those who own the banks. Because here he says to you what? The bank foreclosure, forcing tenant farmers out of work. Okay, continue, Ahmed.
Due to their nearly hopeless situation, and in part because they are trapped in the dust bowl, the
Yeah.
Jodes set out for California along with thousands of other Okies seeking jobs, land, dignity, and the future.
We will know it later. So, what did John Steinbeck wrote about? He wrote about a family who lived in Oklahoma, and then they were forced to leave their country and go to state and go to another state, California, and we will see what happened to them. Let's meet John Steinbeck.
Where
John,
did the
Huh?
opportunists, where did they get their money from if the stock market was crashed?
they have the banks have their money, and they have
Only
loans.
the banks.
You know, the
Not
loan. Yeah. Yes, the banks, because business owners, entrepreneurs themselves lost their money.
Yes.
Okay. John Steinbeck is the author. Read ya, Judy, please. Thank you,
was
Ahmed.
born in Salinas, California in 1902 to a middle-class family. By the time he was 15, Steinbeck knew he was born to be a writer. During his college years in the early 1920s, he started working in sugar factories. His contact with migrants there established his sympathy for workers and people without power, a feeling that pervades his writing.
Yes. His contact with migrants, people who immigrated to United States to have the American dream. Okay, he saw how they are doing, how they live their life, how they live their poor life. Okay, thank you, Judy. Huda, read.
Yes, Miss. Steinbeck produced his greatest works in the 1930s.
So
including
during the time of Great Depression.
Yes. The Grapes of
Wrath. Grapes of Wrath.
1939, Of Mice and Men, 1937, and Tortilla Flat, 1935. The Grapes of Wrath is considered his masterpiece. Steinbeck's work brought him international acclaim and important awards. He received the
Pulitzer Prize.
Prize for the Grapes of Wrath. In 1962, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature. Steinbeck died in 1968.
So his famous novels is The Grapes of Wrath, Of Mice and Men, Tortilla Flat. Okay, I would like to, before we move on with our topic, we watch this together. I want you to focus with this video, girls, because it says a lot. It says a lot.
John Steinbeck wrote a novel which
See, it's a Steinbeck, as you said, but I read it Steinbeck. Steinberg. I always know that this is Stein is pronounced Stein, but you were correct, not me, not I. Here, you can hear.
Yes.
In 1939, John Steinbeck wrote a novel which would become one of the most controversial books of all time. It would become
What is controversial? No, he pronounces wrong, not me.
one of the most 1939, John Steinbeck wrote a novel which would become one of the most controversial books of all time. It would become one of the most celebrated works of American literature. What was this novel? Why was it so controversial? The Grapes of Wrath focuses on the Joad family, poor sharecroppers from Oklahoma who have to leave their home because of the Dust Bowl and other economic hardships associated with the Great Depression. In an effort to change their luck, they set out for California.
Do you see this, girl? Do you see the goat? Grade 11, are you here?
Yes.
I see. I'm telling you. Do you see the goat?
Yeah.
California, along with thousands of other Okies. The book was first published on March 14, 1939. By May, it was at the top of the bestsellers list, and by the end of 1939, almost 500,000 copies had been sold. Its price of $2.75 was fairly reasonable at the time, which allowed many people to purchase copies. Even those who had never read a book before were buying it. Bookstores were sold out, and there were waiting lists at libraries that were months long. The book paints an incredibly vivid picture of the hardships endured by the Dust Bowl migrant workers. It also illustrates how the migrants were treated after arriving in California. When people read it, they were shocked by the poverty and homelessness presented in the story. However, not everyone liked what they were reading. There were claims that the book exaggerated the hardships of the Okies. Many declared that it was impossible for such horrible circumstances to exist in the United States of America. Also, citizens of California were displeased with the way Steinbeck portrayed the Californian attitude towards the migrants. The Associated Farmers of California denounced the book as a pack of lies. Some criticized the novel for other reasons. It emphasized cooperative solutions to economic problems instead of individualistic solutions. Because of these themes, many people felt it was pro-socialist or pro-communist. Because of the book's controversial nature, it was banned from many libraries across the country. One group in California called for widespread denouncement against the book before schools open and our boys and girls find such filthy material on the shelves of our public libraries. National radio programs debated the merits of the book, and it was even publicly burned in Buffalo, New York, East St. Louis, Illinois, and in several communities in California. Oklahoma Representative Lyle Boren went as far as denouncing the book in Congress as a vulgar lie. However, much of this uproar died down when Eleanor Roosevelt praised the book and defended Steinbeck. In 1939, The Grapes of Wrath won the Pulitzer Prize for a novel, and the popularity of the book has endured to this day. John Steinbeck's novel has been translated into many different languages, including French, German, and Japanese. The Grapes of Wrath remains banned in many school libraries across the nation. However, it is probably the most discussed and debated American novel of the 20th century and will always be considered one of the classics of American literature.
So, girls, why they wanted to ban the book?
Because it
This is-
discussed issues, it was controversial.
Yes, like what? What did it
It
discuss?
showed that the Californians didn't care about the migrants that came to them and how poor they were.
Yes, and Tia, were you following? Sham Kharfan? Tia here. Tia, what's your opinion of this video that you've just watched?
And what's the idea of the video?
Mm-hmm.
That they same thing that Dima said, that they needed any. I don't have more than what you said.
Why they wanted to prevent the book? Okay, Noor, why they wanted to prevent the book, ya Noor?
Much like Dima said, I was following Bassiani because
Okay,
it
why
was
they wanted?
controversial and because they show how the Californian used to treat them.
Okay,
the
so
people.
Dima, why it was controversial, ya Dima? Why the book is controversial? They claim what?
Because it showed the struggles of people. They didn't
Yes.
want more people to know about the struggles and the reputation of America to be low.
Uh-huh. Yes. They didn't want anyone to know. And they said what about the book? That this book is a bunch of lies.
And they exaggerated the situations of poor people.
Yes.
Maybe they didn't want to show America as as how the book shows it.
Yes, the bad side.
Yes.
Okay. So now you know what you need to know about the book. We go back again to our PowerPoint here. Okay. So here we start reading. Open page 202. لين الحاج. لين.
Yes, teacher.
Read يا لين.
Preview reading vocabulary.
No, read not the PowerPoint. Read from the book.
Okay.
202. Do you have the book,
read the
Yaleen?
first read.
Yes, from the beginning, from the Grapes of Wrath.
The Grapes of Wrath, written by John Steinbeck, was published in 1939.
I think it's Steinbeck, but they insist so. Let me check Steinbeck. Stein, yes, Steinbeck. Listen.
Set in the United States during the Great.
Yes, huh?
Continue.
Yes, dear. The Grapes of Wrath, written by
John Steinbeck. Steinbeck was published in 1939, set in the United States during the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl. It tells the story of a family of tenant farmers who are forced to leave their Oklahoma farm because of drought and economic hardship. In the 1930s, thousands of desperate people, given the derogatory nickname Okies, migrated west towards California in hopes of finding work. The locals in the area were often not pleased about the Okies' arrival.
Yes, so the Okies, they are poor people who left Oklahoma and they went to California in order to find a new job. But when they reached California, they found nothing, and the Californian didn't welcome them, so they had to live a very hard lives. And they named them Okies. Okay, the first read, huh?
Analyzing point of view.
Okay,
What
thank you.
questions?
Thank you, Lean. Serene, continue, Serene.
Analyzing point of view. What questions about the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl come to mind? Record them in the My Thought column. Objective: as you read, notice details about the two sides of the conflict that Steinbeck depicts in this chapter. Teacher?
Yes?
I didn't get my glasses.
It's okay. It's okay. Underline phrases or sentences that describe the differences between the two opposing groups in My Thought column. Okay? And record notes about why each side would feel as they do. Thank you. Okay. Malika?
Yes.
Read.
Where?
The Grapes of Wrath.
Okay,
By John
by
Steinbeck, chapter 21.
The moving questing people were migrants now. Those families which had lived on a little piece of land, who had lived and died on 40 acres, had eaten or starved on the produce of 40 acres, had now the whole West to rove in. And they scampered about looking for work, and the highways were streams of people, and the ditch banks were lines of people. Behind them more were coming. The great highways streamed with moving people. There in the middle and southwest had lived a simple agrarian folk who had not changed with industry, who had not farmed with machines or known the power and danger of machines in private hands. They had not grown up in the paradoxes of industry. Their senses were still sharp to the ridiculousness of the industry.
Yes, of the industrial life. Thank
Right.
you, Malika. So, girls, I want you to read it again. Reread this part and tell me, okay, where are the sentences that show the hard lives that they lived? Okay, the hard lives. Maya?
Yes, miss.
Huh?
Yes, what?
I'll give you a minute, girls. Lean Matar, Maya will get me one. Lean Matar, you'll get me one. Ahad, you'll get me one.
Teacher, what does paradox mean?
Paradoxes of industry, they had not grown up in the paradoxes of industry. It's like condition. Let me get you an exact meaning. Yes, it's a condition, or how can I say it to you?
Like the environment?
No, it is. It has. How can I say it? I just want to know how can I say it to you. How can I explain it for you? When you live in a contradicted lives, when you live contradicted lives, how can I more explain it? Let me get another simpler meaning. Yeah, I will tell you what. When you have a good side for يعني, because industry has a good side and in the same time it has a bad side. So paradoxes is when you have the two, the good and the bad sides together, as if you are contradicting yourself.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I understood it now.
Oh, okay, great. Paradoxes of industry, the good and the two sides of a situation.
So what was your question again?
Again, I want clues that tell about the life of the Ukis, the hardships. Maya, number one.
Yes, miss. Miss, I don't know. Maybe died on 40?
Yeah, who lived and died on 40 acres.
Yes.
Okay. Lean Matter?
Yes, teacher, can you hear me?
Yes.
Teacher, they scrambled about looking for work.
Yes, they are stumbling about looking forward. Yes, ahead. Girls, can you imagine the scene? He says that he is standing and people are coming. People are moving from Oklahoma to California. People are moving. Why? Because of the Dust Bowl. So they are moving to California. So he wants to show you how they are standing. He says those people who had lived and died on 40 acres. Acres is like feet, a measurement for lands. Had eaten and or starved on the produce of 40 acres. Yani those people who came from Oklahoma had only lived on 40 acres. Now they have the whole California to live in. So he says to you that they scampered about looking for work. And the highways were streams of people. The highway, yani, imagine that people are coming to Riyadh. So you'll see the highways full of people. You imagine the scene?
Yes.
Okay, continue. Ahad, you wanted to say one?
The senses were still sharp?
Senses were still sharp is يعني it's them يعني they are still يعني they are still good. Okay. So he says there in the middle and southwest had lived a simple agrarian folk. Folk is one يعني folk like a pal or not pal, a man who had not changed with industry, who had not farmed with machines or known the power and danger of machines in private hands. Power and danger, this is the paradox of industry. They had not grown up in the paradoxes of industry. Their senses were still sharp to the ridiculousness of the industrial life. Those people lived in Oklahoma to plant, to harvest only. They didn't meet the new industrial life yet. At that time, the industrial life was just beginning, girls. The factories, the machines. Before machines, they only used to work with their own hands.
Yani, miss, the people that were affected by this are the people that didn't work in the industry, right?
Yes, they came from Oklahoma. Why they left Oklahoma? Because they cannot plant anymore in Oklahoma because of the Dust Bowl.
So they were living from agriculture.
Yes, the agriculture. Now they cannot plant anymore, so they had to leave the whole state to go to California. Okay. So they immigrated a whole. Imagine people from Al Qasim came to Riyadh because they cannot sit in Al Qasim because there is a storm.
Teacher, but
what will
their
happen?
fault, it's their fault. Why didn't they migrate to different places, not only
Maybe
one
this is the
place?
nearest one because as you can see, they move with very poor equipment. Why their fault? Yani they see America as ours. We are the immigrants. Okay, we stop here, girls. Take 5 minutes break, wash your face, wake up, and then 9:30 we continue. Okay.
Sure, I remember she can't enter because معلق هيك لسارة.